Are you someone that's been a lover of essential oils and you use them all the time? Or are you someone who is interested in learning more? I think either way, this is going to be a great show. Hi, I'm Elaine Alpert, your show host for Journey Back to Joy TV. And today I have a really special lady. This is one of my very best friends of all time. Just to let you know, she was at the birth of my second child, and she was also present the very night that I lost my older son. This is the kind of woman that you want to keep in your life because she knows what matters most. And the two of us have been really good friends all these years. And so what happened recently was a couple months ago, we were on a call talking together, and she started mentioning essential oils. And I have been a lover of oils for a long time, actually became a distributor for Young Living oils back in the 90s. And then over time, I just kind of let some of that go. And I would pick them up from time to time, and we'll talk some about that. But in recent times, I hadn't been using them very much. And my guest told me about what she was doing, and it sparked my interest again. And I'm like right back there loving these oils again. So this woman is Lois Zellman. And I think you're going to love listening to her and learning from her. You know, this isn't a show about like knowing every single thing about essential oils and trying to give it to you in that way. This show is really about personal experience with the oils. Like having Lois talk to us about what she's been doing with the oils recently and what she's been sharing with her friends and with me, and what got me so excited about getting back into them. So welcome to the show. And Lois, I'm thrilled you're here. Yay. And I just want you to, riff. Just tell us about your experience with the oils. Like, what are you into right now in terms of essential oils?
That is a great question on top of a great introduction. Just let me catch my breath a minute here, dear. That was absolutely heartfelt, heart-opening. In fact, I used an essential oil to open my heart, and now I'm just feeling like, oh, let me just take that in. So thank you, dear. It has certainly been a great friendship and great relationship. And I'm really glad to share the oils because really, back in the 80s, you got me interested in oils. You were very excited and you started sharing them with me. And that's when I first heard about them. And I got into them a couple of years ago through a very dear friend, Madeline. And there's so much to know about essential oils. I mean, I know a smidgen. And when I got involved with them, I got all of these oils and I didn't know what to do with them. And in some ways I got a bit overwhelmed. I took an aromatherapy class. I started studying. Some of that chemistry was over my head. And interestingly, because your show title is so important, it's like Journey Back to Joy. Through the pandemic, I journeyed back to my joy of the essential oils because I really quit using them and I quit to the depth that I wanted to. It wasn't quite how I wanted to learn them. Through the pandemic, I started doing some studying about using essential oils more for your emotional, spiritual path. And it really brought me back to the joy of the essential oils. I mean, I really started getting excited again and really starting to love the oils and understand how each one is this significant, like almost like a child. It's like this little gift in a bottle, and it brings so much to my own inner world and my own opportunity to explore my inner world. And so that's what I've been doing. And that's why you feel that passion, that excitement, because one of the oils, I'm going to pick it up right here. One of the oils for last month that I've been using is Joy. Can you see that? And yes, I do use Young Living. I'm very committed to Young Living because I understand how they work their product. I mean, all of us, I think, are into organic and clean living and less toxic elements in our lifestyle. And Young Living is like that, sustainable from the moment they plant the plants that they use to distill for the oils, to the distilling, to the process, to the delivering of them. It's pure. And so these products do what they say. Like when you see this joy on the label, that's exactly what this oil brings. And so what happened for me is I started realizing that I needed to use the oils more consistently, like find an oil that I loved and really practice with it, really use it fully in my life. Well, when I understood that Gary Young, who is the developer of Young Living, he created an oil and he called it Love, which is a good basic oil to start with. I mean, who doesn't want an oil named Love? Who doesn't want to put that all over their body, all throughout their body and out in their etheric body? Who doesn't want that? Well, so he named this product Love back then. But what happened is he realized that people they were seeing it like a love between people or more romantic love. And that wasn't what he really wanted. He wanted the frequency of love, which is a very high frequency. All essential oils have a certain frequency. Our body is a certain frequency. It runs between 62 and 82, a healthy body. Well, when he put this blend together, it runs at 188 frequency megahertz. Now, what that means is it's 3 times as strong as our healthy body. So imagine taking an essence and putting it in your hand and putting it all over your body that is 3 times more powerful than your healthy body. And the essential oils, the actual elements of the oils, come into our system. They literally go into the body, go throughout the body, and contact every cell in our body. But it also does it because when you start studying science these days, everything is about energy and frequency. And our whole aura, we have an etheric body that goes outside of our field and it comes in. It's called a toric field that comes into our body and goes out. So when we're putting essential oils into our outer system, they're coming into our body as well. So this is impacting every single cell in our body. And it does it immediately, like within minutes, every cell in your body has been contacted by this essential oil. So the blend, which creates that high frequency, we live in that now. And so what I've been doing is every month I use an oil or two, and I use this for specific reasons. So this month with joy, it was all about opening the heart and coming back to joy. I mean, we've been through a couple of years here, we have talked, with our friends and everybody. It has been an intense couple of years. And so anything that we can do to bring our energy up, bring our frequency up so that we can impact those around us. But it also brought me back to the joy of the essential oils, because I had sort of lost that in the trying to understand them and trying to, mentally grasp what they were all about. And what this practice that I've been doing is more about the intuitive understanding of the oils and how to utilize them to impact my well-being.
Well,
Did I say that short enough?
No, I love it. I love hearing all of that. In fact, when you and I were on that call and you said, okay, this month I'm using the joy oil. I'm like, well, why are you doing that? You're like, I'm going to focus just this month on joy and bringing joy into my life, renewing myself with joy. And I'm just going to really pay attention to this oil. And that appealed to me so much, because I have to say, years ago, when I got into Young Living oils, I went berserk. I mean, I got the holder for all the oils. It probably holds like 100 something oils in there. And I ordered a whole bunch of them. And then I ordered more. And the more I ordered, the more confused I got. Mm-hmm. In a way. And I found that and there wasn't a lot of education about it back then. That was the other thing. But what I found was that I started gravitating to a few oils that I noticed really worked. And I know you've got stories about what's happened in your life when you've shared it with various people. I'm just curious what you would like for us to know.
I think that's important for me too, because I have a lot of oils sitting on my shelves that I didn't use. And what I realized is it's like anything, like a supplement, if you're changing your eating, you got to do it for a while. And so focusing on an oil and using it for 21 days, that's what they say. If you do something for 21 days, the habit is changed. You've changed a habit, or for a month, but really only focusing on that oil. And then you get to know it, because part of using the oils is sniffing it, smelling it, having it talk to you, hearing where it wants to go, how it wants to be used on your body. So the more I could use it for those longer periods, the more I got to appreciate what it is. And when I first started the month with joy, my grandson and his girlfriend came down, and they're in their 20s, and I have not met her, and all of a sudden I realize I'm a grandmother of a grandson with a girlfriend. They're coming to visit. What's that about? How am I? What's my new behavior here? What's my new role? So when they came in, I had just gotten my new my Young Living order, and I'd gotten Joy and Jasmine and Rose. And I thought, oh, what the heck? So I said, hey, I'm opening up, I've just got my essential oils. You guys interested in smelling them? And right away, Mad says, oh, yeah. My grandma does essential oils and my mother does essential oils, which sort of put me in my place. I realized, I am the grandmother aspect in here. But it was awesome, because then she wanted to try them out, and we tried them out. And my grandson, who loves his girlfriend, was eager, to be part of it, which was absolutely sweet to watch. And so I'd show them how to put the oil in their hand, and just rub it very gently and anoint themselves, on their forehead and their heart and their crown chakra. And they all went for it. It was really wonderful to watch. And I told them it was joy. And I said, I wanted to, I want them to feel that joy and see what happens. And later on, a couple hours later, I asked him, I said, well, you notice anything? Are you feeling anything? And my grandson said, well, I see I'm smiling a lot, and they really noticed that there was a difference, and it was a great way to play. And later the girlfriend told me that when they came into the house, she's turned to my grandson and said, it really smells good in this house. Well, I hadn't, I was diffusing joy, and I don't always smell it, so I don't know. So it was such an awesome thing, because I didn't want her to walk into, like an old people's home, sometimes you go in and there's a certain odor. So it was really great to have that relationship. And then what we did is that later on, they wanted to know more about it. So we tried some other oils that I had received. And I noticed on her Facebook page later that day, she had a picture, and it just made my day. There she was sort of that young sort of, just a sort of a sarcastic kind of look, but just really fun and friendly, with her hand out. And she said, just met grandma, just sniffed oils. And it was, so it was great. I felt like I was well received, like I've got my place now.
Yeah. Well, I do think the oils are great to share with other people. And I just want to make it clear to the audience, first of all, that you're not here to sell oils. This show is not about that. And yes, we're talking about Young Living because we both have experience with these particular oils, right? But this isn't about making money. It's really about sharing the joy of the oils. And when you were talking to me there were things about Gary Young, who developed these oils, that I had forgotten. I just forgotten. Mm-hmm. And you brought up like how he got started. And I just like share that with everybody, because it's so, I don't know, it just does a lot for me, that it brings a lot of credibility to his role in what he's done with these.
Yeah. Well, there's such a gamut of the way you can use oils. You can use it for pain. I'm trying to be compliant here. You can use it. You can use any essential oil for a lot of different reasons, from the health aspect to the spiritual aspect. I mean, there are stories of oils that go back, ancient Greece, in the Bible. All sorts of cultures have used essential oils, and I think because they're just a natural product. And now we have so many synthetics that we've gotten away from a lot of natural products, but things are going back into that area. And Gary, I mean, when you read his story, it is rich with not just him discovering the health benefits of essential oils, but the spiritual aspects of essential oils. And in many ways, as I'm understanding more, it seems like he was more and more involved in that than I even realized, and I think than even more most people realize. But he did go to Egypt, and he would go in, and he found himself talking with some tour guides or some men over there that were taking them on a trip, which ended up leading him into some private temple areas that tourists weren't allowed, but that he was acknowledged for the work that he was doing. They could tell but through him that he really revered these oils. And Gary felt like he was given a gift to bring the oils back out to the public, back out to the world in a huge way, because they've been underground a bit for a long time. I mean, if you remember, there was suddenly an explosion, and now like you can buy them in every gas station, on the turnpike. But again, it was looking for the quality and the respect of these ingredients that was so important. And when a time when this was just coming out, he had a vision. He went out and he built farms, and he stayed in native areas and allowed the people to grow these products and make a living from them, but sustainably, so that the land was revered, so the product was revered. And the oils themselves, ultimately, when they came out and you could use them, I mean, they are just amazing, beings. I like to call them little beings in a bottle, But like when you think about what it takes to make an essential oil like rose, rose is like one of the most revered essential oils. And remember, essential oils are in everything. I mean, you can buy air fresheners, perfumes, that's what they're made from. But again, not using synthetics. But in a bottle of rose, a little 5 millimeter bottle, let's talk about it, is this big. It takes 20 pounds of rose petals to make a 5 milliliter bottle of essential oil. Think about that. 20, you know how light a rose oil, a rose petal is? Think about 20 pounds just to get that substance out. And rose is one of the most, that is one of the most revered fragrances in the world. And, it's amazing that we can even get it at a cost that we can, possibly afford it. Because when you think about it, that should be quite expensive. And so when you see one, a rose bottle for $10, don't believe it. It's probably a synthetic.
Don't buy it. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people have had the experience of picking up an oil because, they're watching the dollar, and it's a bottle of lavender that they've gotten somewhere. And it does tend to have what's the word? Kind of a fragrance that doesn't feel real. It feels like an air freshener as opposed to the real thing. Yeah. And the interesting thing is all these oils that I bought years ago, I can still open those bottles and they still smell as fresh as I remember back then. So that's pretty amazing. Well, one of the things I wanted to talk about too today is like these kinds of stories where people have used them. And I'll just share what I did with my kids when they were growing up, and sometimes to their dismay, because they're strong, some of them are strong smelling, but they got used to them. And I think this is great for grandparents to do with their grandkids, as you were talking about, but even when they're really young. And I would put, if my son was getting sick, I would put thieves oil on the bottom of his feet. Now, thieves comes from the time when the Black Plague, was rampant. And that oil was used to keep the effects of all the bacteria and everything off of the person who was around these people. So I don't know the whole story about it, but I remember that. Anyway, I'll put thieves on the feet, and it was a tremendous kind of sending, it just would like protect him from getting sicker. And then put an oil called RC on the chest. And so we put socks on the feet after the oil, put the RC on the chest, and then the next day reverse it, put the RC on the feet. Mm-hmm. And things that started in the chest or the throat or just kind of feeling fluish, this is an excellent thing to do. It's something I still do. Like if I start to feel run down, I'll do that little thing of putting one in one place and one in the other, so that I can wake up and not carry this thing on, So I'm wondering what other kinds of ways you've seen it be effective for people.
Well, one of the ways, and you can use essential oils with children, but again, it's a reason why you want a good quality oil, because their skin is so tender. And there's certain oils that shouldn't be put on, citrus and hot cinnamon and oils like that need to be diluted. So you really have to understand, it really helps to understand essential oils or get involved with someone who does. And, there are plenty of opportunities to do that. But another fun way is children walking. Sometimes they talk about putting vetiver. And vetiver is a long grass grown in like India, places like that. I mean, and its roots are deeper than its stems. It's just like a grass. And so when you think about what a plant is, it's got deep roots. So when you put vetiver on your feet, it pulls the energy of your body down into the earth. So when children are learning to walk, people will use that on their feet in order to help them balance themselves. And I've been practicing with it with my feet, because now that I'm, on the other end of that scale, it's like my balance gets to be off. So I utilize it to help me stay more balanced as I walk. And I've been doing some balance exercises to strengthen my ankles, because I recently broke one. So I'm using that vetiver to stand and to help strengthen that energy going through my feet. So there is so much. You could study essential oils probably years and years and years and always learn something. I mean, I just learned one of my favorite oils that I use is called Guys, and it's for indigestion. And I have a roller ball on it, and I, just roll it right on my belly button, and it's just awesome. It's really strong. It's got some great aroma to it. But I just learned that you can use that for sinuses. Now, I've been using this for 5 years and didn't know that you could use it for sinus congestion. You just roll it on your nose. And so there are so many different ways to use them physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So I think that sort of leads me into, like, I think about how can you use oils without having to buy, a ton of them, or how could some people want to do that. Some people just want to, have an essential oil or two because they know that there's something about them they're drawn to. And so I think it's important to understand what you want to use essential oils for. I mean, what would be the purpose? Do you want to use them? Because a lot of people get into them because their children are not well, and they're looking for some alternatives for their children. I mean, mothers are they're such warriors. You've got to, hand it to them. They're the ones that lead so many of these, new discoveries and ways to use things for our kids. And then maybe it's just like, for me, what really was exciting for me was using them spiritually, using them to meditate deeper, to understand, maybe to release some blocks that I have, open up my heart, calm down my mind so it's not hypervigilant and running away with me. So I think it's really important to identify what you want, what's your intention with the essential oils. And
Lois, could you, that's such a good point about the spiritual aspect of it. So what do you do when you say, like, to help you meditate deeper? Like, what's a little formula that you have created for yourself to share?
Well, there's a basic frankincense. I mean, everybody knows about frankincense. Frankincense, there's so many things good about frankincense. It's good for your skin. In fact, I heard Methuselah, who's the oldest, what was he, the oldest man or whatever, but you can imagine that he put frankincense on his face every day, which caused him to look younger. So I have been using frankincense in my oil on my face daily. But it's also for sore muscles. Like, you can use it. There are multiple ways to use frankincense, but it also is a very high frequency, and it lifts the energy up. So if you're going to meditate and you want to put it on your chakra here, your third chakra or your crown chakra, and then sit with it a minute, and you can feel it. You can feel that energy get pulled upward. And what that does is, we have an energy field above us that's quite high, and it takes us right into that. Sometimes I'll use sandalwood, and sandalwood you'll find that in a lot of perfumes, but the same way on your crown chakra and on your third eye and your crown chakra, also your throat chakra. Now, back to the joy, journey back to joy, that is an oil that can be used on all of our energy centers. You can call them whatever they want. They've got multiple names, but we have 7 energy centers throughout our body. And when you do that, it opens up your entire beingness. And so if you're open up to love and you've got your cells sort of tingling in there, sparkling and, all happy about feeling this energy of love, then it's easier to sit quietly. And a lot of times when I put joy on or any of these oils, I'll simply ask questions of myself. Like in the morning, if I use the joy, how can I bring more joy into my world today? How can I bring more joy into my world today? Ask it 3 times and the subconscious gets it. The conscious mind gets it. Ask it 7 out loud and the subconscious gets it. So how can I bring joy into my life? How can I bring joy into my life? And it would be amazing. I like to journal and write a lot of this down. You'll be amazed after 21 days of really focusing your attention with 1 or 2 oils, how much shifts. That's where writing helps, because then you can see how much is really changing and how exciting it would be to be trying a new oil. I mean, next month is transformation. I mean, I love that. Think about that. Giving my cells, every little cell, some light about transformation, which is huge change. So that's how I've gotten excited about using the oils through this time frame that we've been in. It's brought me back to that joy of it.
Well, I love that you're taking something that has such a rich history and giving yourself time with it. Like not, this isn't a slapdash thing, although you could, just put it on and run out the door. But the way you're talking about it really makes it a much more conscious healing path. And I know my audience loves that, just loves what can I do to wake myself up as much as possible in this lifetime?
Mm-hmm.
And it just
want to do that. Take this for 21 days, pour 4 or 5 drops on your hand, anoint it like that, and then rub it all over your body, on your arms, under your arms where we get stuck energy, under your knee pits where you get stuck energy, all over your body, and take a hot shower and just let the water push it into your body. Push it in, because water and oil don't mix. So the water it won't wash it off. It'll just push it into your skin. Do that once a week and then sniff joy day and night for 21 days. And there will be a shift. There will be a change that happens.
Oh, I just love that. And I know because I bought these before. You get them on Amazon. They're like, they look like menthol things that you sniff, but you open it up, it's got a little cotton thing in there, roll in there, and you can put a few drops in, put a cap on it. And that way, because these oils are not inexpensive, and this is a way that you can carry it around with you and have access to it and also help it last as well. Mm-hmm. So are there other ways to help the oils last a little longer?
Well, I would say there's 2 ways to look at that. You do want it to last, but you also want to use it. You also, because I would get real stingy with my oils, maybe, it's barely a drop out. And now I'm like, no, I have it here. What am I going to do with it? I diffuse it throughout the day, use my oils up, because as you know, we both have oils that have been sitting there for 5 years. And it's all that sort of that fear mentality. So the more I open up and just say, let me just be generous. It's generous in my life, generous with the oils. Let me feel and let me use. I mean, what if I only use this oil? What if I only had a month left? I would want to use up that bottle of joy this month, and trust that you'll have what you need. And it really it becomes a holistic approach to how to use the oils.
Lois, thank you so much for being here today. I just love you so much. And I am just grateful that you would come on today and share with everybody what you have experienced for yourself and the way that you're just naturally letting people know. And it's such a beautiful way to help open up people's energy and enjoy life, like literally enjoy life. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Dear sister. And for those of you who are live right now, please stay on. We're going to continue having a conversation. We have a couple people here that know quite a bit about oils. And if you have questions, Lois and I know things about oils, but we have people in the audience that know things about oils. So if you'd like to hang around and talk about them, we're ready to do that. So thank you for joining in today. And I'll be right back here next Tuesday with another show. And I hope you have a most amazing day.